I'm going to show you guys how I make chicken drumstick lollipops on the PK grill. Drumsticks are really inexpensive. These were like $1.99 a pound or something. I can't quite read that, $1.89 maybe. You can get them a lot cheaper than that though, and that's one of my favorite things about drumsticks. And this is what we're going to start with, is chicken drumsticks. I'm actually going to show you a little bit about the physiology of the chicken drumstick so we can understand it a little bit. With most of the animals that we eat, you know, beef and lamb and pork and things like that, you can pretty much draw a one-to-one relationship between what part of us it is on the human body and what part of the animal it is. But with chickens, it's different, especially in the leg area, like we're talking about today. They're just built really strange. And understanding how they're built helps us when we're butchering them, for sure. And plus, I'm a nerd, and I like to kind of know all this stuff. But if you look at the human, we have the femur, and that corresponds to the thigh bone, of course, in the chicken also, which is kind of nested up against its body. And that's when we have chicken thighs, like we've shown in other videos, that's the part that comes from. Then there's this middle leg in the chicken instead of the lower leg in ours, and that corresponds to the tibia and fibula in us. There's this little tiny fibula that's kind of not very useful in the chicken. And then there's this other part of the chicken leg. What in the world? Chicken legs have 3 main limbs or body parts, and that's actually modified tarsal like we have in our foot that's done that. And that's the shank bone in the chicken. So if we were to magnify what we're talking about today really quick, we've got the 3 parts of the chicken leg here. The top is the thigh, and then the tibia and fibula are the drumstick. And we don't mess with the chicken shank generally. So there is where the drumstick comes from, and it's pretty much the calf muscle of a human, the gastrocnemius. So that's what we're dealing with when we're butchering a chicken leg. So let's get back to that. There's that knee bone on top, and the first thing I like to do to make these lollipops is square it off right there. And you're cutting down through the kneecap, and it cuts really easily because that's mainly meniscus and articular cartilage. It's not bone per se that you're cutting through, but that allows them to stand up like this, which is really helps us with serving them, and it helps us cook it also. And then on the lower portion here, I go up about 1.5 inches or 2, and I cut all the way down to the bone, going through all that little pieces of meat and tendons and everything like that. And then we just very carefully scrape all that back and expose the bone. It's really easy to do. I kind of do it slowly, and it looks like I'm taking a lot of work to do this. You can actually do this all in 2 or 3 scrapes, but I want to show you what our goal is here. The way I do it is I push all this back until I see that white. You see that white in there? That is that lower talus or ankle cartilage, and you can cut right down through that with a knife. It's very soft. The bone is hard, so you'll know if you're cutting through bone. It's very difficult. But that little that white that we're looking for down there, you can cut right down through it, and that's how I do these. I cut at an angle right on down, and I do it on all the sides, and it cleans it up. That way I don't have to worry about pulling all that off of there. It's very slippery. It's hard to get off there. And I like the presentation of this better. The way I present these is on a darkened, barbecued, smoked handle bone, lollipop stick, if you will. I like it dark and smoky and barbecued looking. You can make them different ways. I'll talk about that a little bit later. This is the way I make them, and it's very quick, and you get a great looking product. They're fun to eat. They're easy to eat, and they people just love them. So again, I'm going to go a few more times just to show you. You go up about 1.5 inches or 2, cut all the way down to the bone, then grab that meat with one hand, and then with a knife, just very easily push all that down. There's no attachment really to the bone here, so you're just moving that meat and cartilage and stuff down. And our goal, again, is to look for that white part of that lower talus or ankle cartilage. See it right there? And then we'll just cut it down at an angle, just like that. It's very soft. You'll know if you're in the bone. Like I said earlier, it's a lot harder. If you're too high up, you'll know really quick. But see, it just cuts right down. Kind of like, it's almost like you're sharpening it. And I will emphasize again, this goes a lot quicker than I'm making it look. I'm trying to go instructionally slow here so everyone can see how this works. And we'll do one more really fast. You square off that meniscus and articular cartilage on the knee so that it will set up right later, and then you cut all the way down to the bone, all the way around, and then you just kind of push it all back. And you're pushing it back with that knife with the goal of seeing that white cartilage appear down at the bottom, and that's where you're able to cut through. See it there? Starting to expose. There it is. This is how I like to do it. Like I say, you can actually take a rag and grab that lower meat and skin and stuff and pull it off there and kind of work it out of that little groove at the bottom and stuff like that, and really clean these up and make them more delicate looking. And you can even wrap the bones in aluminum foil while you cook it, and that keeps the bones from getting dark. I don't go through all that because I like the look of these. I like them to look dark and kind of candied and barbecued. So this is how I do it. But you can have a whole different kind of product if you wrap that bone in aluminum foil before you cook it. I don't prefer to do that. And as you can see, that's mostly cartilage and skin. You're not removing much meat at all. Now it's time to season them. I'm going to be using Payne County Bird. This is my own seasoning. I love it on poultry. It has a lot of ginger and onion and cumin and things like that. It's a very complex spice, but I love it on chicken. Any poultry season will do. And then there's those lollipops all trimmed up and ready to go. So we'll let those dry brine a little bit while we get the PK grill ready. This PK grill is on a custom-made rack that I build in another video if you're interested. We're going to be doing an indirect smoke in the PK grill, and it takes about 2/3 of this chimney worth of charcoal briquettes. I'm using Royal Oak. It's my favorite charcoal briquette. And today I'm going to just use lighter fluid to light it. I am not a snob when it comes to accelerants or however you choose to light your charcoal. Charcoal fluid burns completely off, just like a paper towel or anything else would. So anyway, that's my opinion. That's what we're using today. And we're going to set this grill up, this PK grill, for indirect cooking, which means we'll put the lit charcoal on one side and we'll cook the product on the other to avoid scorching the bottom of the product with that direct hot flame that's going to be coming out of our embers. So again, I'll put the coals over here on one side. And I'm going to go ahead and nest a piece of white oak inside there today so we can fume the product with a little bit of extra smoke. You could do this just with charcoal, of course, but I'm going to put a piece of oak in there also. And then I'll open the vent directly below the coals to allow them to get the oxygen they need. And then on the lid, I'll open the far vent from the coals and try and get a really good even cooking temperature that way in the cooking chamber. So here's our product, and I've put that wired probe thermometer in the deepest part of the largest drumstick so that we'll know when they're all done. And I'll just put it in there, and like I said, an indirect cook. And we're going to be looking for 160 degree internal temperature. I'm going to cook in this chamber between 300 and 350 degrees, and it doesn't matter to me where that is. I do leave the product in the pan. And it's not hard. You just open and close your vents a little bit, but actually choosing how much charcoal and fuel to use is what really helps you get a good temperature, but it's not very difficult. So this is an hour and a half later. These are completely cooked. They all have an internal temperature of just over 160 degrees, so they're done. As far as food safety goes, I like to cook them a little bit longer to make them more tender. So this last part, I'm going to glaze them up, and I'll show you how I finish them to a little bit higher temperature. I like to stoke the coals while I'm in there a little bit, kind of get the ash off the coals and get them burning hot again. But that, you can see that was the perfect amount of fuel for an hour and a half long cook. Now, like I said, I don't cover the end of the bone like most people with aluminum foil. I like the dark, kind of barbecued, candied look on them. And so the last step I do is I actually brush on some barbecue sauce on all the bones. And then I dip each of these lollipops in the barbecue sauce. This is an experimental barbecue sauce that will be marketable soon. This is my Hogsbane barbecue sauce with habanero puree in it. It's really spicy, and I've been working on this for a while. Glad to be able to use that today in this cook. Then we just line these guys up on there. As you can see, my handles, my lollipop handles, are dark brown mahogany colored for being smoked in there and cooking, and I like that. But if you want a white, cleaner looking bone, please cover them with aluminum foil and don't feel like you have to just cook them bare like this. There's lots of ways to do these chicken drumstick lollipops. And in about 20 minutes, I like to cook them like up to about 170 degrees. In 20 minutes, this is what you have. They're a really attractive product. They're very good. They're easy to eat. They're pretty. They sit up in a plate well. They're very simple to make. They're very inexpensive. I really hope you guys try these. It's a simple cooking process. It doesn't take very long, and they just turn out great. So thank you for watching. See you guys next time.